Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel D Creations Resources. We are looking at research methodology and different aspects related to that. So today let us talk about induction and deduction in research. So one of the main objectives when you do research is to find out facts and then establish reliable theories based on it, or establish laws based on it, right? And these laws can then be used for explaining or predicting phenomena or events, etc. So, if you wish to arrive to a correct conclusion, there has to be a systematic approach to argument or reasoning, right? So, the researchers are supposed to use logic to prove their points. Now, earlier, research was also called logical reasoning, right? So that is how logic and reasoning is inculcated in research right from the beginning. Now, there can be two kinds of approaches to the reasoning. One is by the method of deduction and the other is by the method of induction. So deductive reasoning, it is the process of reasoning from a general assumption to a specific application. While in case of method of induction, it is moving from the specific to the general. In case of deductive reasoning, the major premise is based on a theory or a rule or a law or a principle or some kind of general understanding. So we are going from general, right? But in case of method of induction, the major premise for an argument is basically based on an observation or an experience. So it is specific in nature. So in case of deductive reasoning, the steps that you take is you will have an existing theory, then you will formulate hypotheses based on it, then you will collect data, you will analyze the data, and then you will see whether the hypothesis is to be accepted or rejected, right? So let me give you an example. So you can make a statement that all biological life depends on oxygen for its existence. Okay, so this is your theory. Now you're formulating a hypothesis that all plants depend on oxygen for their existence. So this is your hypothesis. Now you are going to collect data. For example, you will study all the plants and see if they are dependent on oxygen for their existence. So obviously when you analyze this data, you are going to find that yes, all plants depend on oxygen for their existence. So that means your initial hypothesis that all biological life depends on oxygen for their existence is true, right? So it's not going to get rejected. Now, there are also examples of deductive logic arguments. So you can have a premise, another premise, and then you conclude. So this is called premise conclusion. So let me give you an example. So you can say that all fruits have seeds. Okay. Then there can be a premise, mango has a seed. And then there is a conclusion, therefore mango is a fruit. Or another example, say from chemistry, red litmus paper turns blue in the presence of a base. This is your first premise. Second premise is the red litmus paper turned blue after I dropped some liquid on it. And then from this, what will you conclude? Oh, the liquid is basic. So you understand, this is the example of a deductive logic argument. Of course, you have to presume that you know the word premise. Premise is a previous statement or proposition from which another is inferred, or you can even say that it's an idea or a theory on which another statement is based, or a statement which is assumed to be true and from which a conclusion can be drawn. So this is basically a premise. We already saw the steps to be taken in deductive research. First, start with a theory, create a problem statement, then formulate a hypothesis, and based on this theory, Collect data to test the hypothesis, analyze and test the data, and then decide whether you accept this particular hypothesis. Now, what is the other way? Other way is inductive research. So, as we mentioned, in case of inductive research, we are going from specific to general. So, this usually happens when there is little or no existing literature on a topic, right? So, you are going to make some observations and then try to conclude after analyzing these observations. So, let me give you an example here. Let's imagine that you have a basket of fruits. First, you are observing a mango and making a specific observation that the mango has a seed. The next step is pattern recognition. So, you will see different fruits from the basket. For example, you will pick an apple, suppose, and you will check whether it has seeds. Of course, it does. So, you would say, okay, apples have seeds. Then you might check a guava, and then you would say that, okay, the guava also has seeds, and so on. So, you will do it with all the fruits in the basket, and from that, you will conclude that all fruits have seeds. Now, here you must understand that this method has some limitations. Here you are making a conclusion based on whatever number of observations you made. Let me give you an example. Suppose if you are standing at the station and you are watching trains leave, right? And if you notice that 5 trains have been delayed. So you might say that, okay, train 1 has a delay, train 2 has a delay, and with inductive approach, you might conclude that all trains are delayed. But now there's a danger, because later, if you have observed 10 trains, and it's possible that there could be a 11th train which is not delayed. But since you've already made your conclusion based on the first 10 trains, it may lead to an error when you consider a train which is not delayed, right? So here the idea is, if you have a larger data set, then you are going to minimize the chance of an error. So it has its own limitations, but it's a valid approach, especially when there is no theory in place, right? Usually you see that scientists, they would have a mixture. They would have a mixture of both, or they'll combine inductive and deductive research, and this is always helpful. But if you wish to differentiate between inductive and deductive research, in inductive research, we are aiming to develop a theory, while in deductive research, we are aiming to test a theory. So, in inductive research, you are going from specific to general. You are developing a general theory, while in deductive research, you are going from general to specific. So, you already have a theory, and then you are taking into account some specific statements, and you are checking whether they are true, right? So this is about inductive and deductive method. Thank you.